This video is brought to you by this freaking shot. No, not for that reason. More on that later. Welcome loons, goons, and anyone ready to swoon. I'm Sarah and I love to talk about TVs and movies and all things romance. So that is what we're doing here. And the heated rivalry obsession continues. I can't stop talking about this show. I have so many thoughts. So we're going scene by scene dissecting all of it. If you're unfamiliar with Heated Rivalry, follow Shane and Ilya, professional hockey players, through their careers as their rivals on the ice, but secretly falling in love off it. In this video, we are cleaning off and getting into the shower after Shane and Ilya's commercial shoot together. Yes, we are finally getting into this amazing peachy scene, as well as the post-shower, shall we say, review of what is happening here. You can find a playlist in the description going through the scenes until now where you will get all my yappity thoughts. And without further ado, let's get the shower caps on and just dive into it. This video contains spoilers for Heated Rivalry Season 1. Today we are checking out all these like salty, seductive, steamy looks that is between Shane and Ilya in the shower and getting into some more explicit activities. But also, what can we get from these looks? Because it's not only about steam and seduction, there also is a lot of vulnerability here and acceptance, or at least a huge step towards acceptance. We're coming into this scene from Shane and Yuna's sponsorship conversation, where also Shane was very distracted by Ilya skating down on the ice, which I also got to think is kind of this symbol of how Shane is only really able to look at Ilya like from the sideline, never in the spotlight. But that's kind of like a little additional thought I had there. We're coming, as I said, straight from Yuna and Shane's talk into the shower scene and seeing Shane looking down on Ilya on the ice to seeing Shane in the shower. This really zooms us as the audience like into Shane, into where his mind is at and what he's sort of thinking and going through right now. Like you can imagine how Shane is probably thinking about his and Ilya's conversation earlier, their interactions earlier, like this weird flirty something that was going on here, and Ilya telling him that he set up this whole commercial shoot or like was a part in them doing this commercial shoot together, and Shane not really having time to like process what does that mean because he was called away by the director and then he was called away to talk about sponsorships. So he kind of was just having like a little moment here to like process, I guess, a little bit and think about what is this thing with Ilya, what's going on, what am I feeling, what is he potentially feeling. And that is sort of the energy that we get into the shower scene with in Shane's POV in his head, thinking about Ilya, and then bam, Ilya is there. We're getting into the shower here. It's extremely bright. Like there is so much light, fluorescent light, illuminating up everything. And of course, this is like a public shower. So you would say, yeah, this is just how they look. But for me, it's very interesting because of so much how we see them throughout the show when they're like hooking up and when they're meeting up and things. It's always in these like dark locations. Everything happens kind of like at night, or mostly at night, and gives this like feeling of like, oh, it's something secretive, it's something that we're like hiding away. But here everything is so illuminated, and I feel like you could have done this in a way that was more like moody light and like some darker lighting, even if it is like a public shower. So I think it is quite intentional that it is so bright and that you can't hide in this setting, both like how they are here, like if anyone were to come in, you know, they can't hide what is going on here, but also just with like how their little courtship have been progressing. They really can't hide like for each other here. Well, it's like setting up the scene to be sort of this, we're not bearing our souls, maybe that's a little intense, but it's still kind of bearing a lot here, like bearing a lot of the intentions from Ilya, who is the more active in the pursuing here, and then for Shane in how he's responding to being in this space with Ilya. I think it's a very risky space to be doing all of this in. And maybe also just like emotionally, there's like some high stakes here and what we're risking. Okay, let's get into it. So we have Shane in the shower here and Ilya enters. For a moment, the camera focus shifts to Ilya so we can see that he is looking at Shane as well. And Shane is kind of surprised here. At least that's how I'm reading it. And also if he has like Ilya on his mind and all of a sudden Ilya is there, I can imagine also being a little like, oh shit, like Ilya is here. What's gonna happen? And he gives this like quick look to Ilya, like just as a reflex, I think, but also like he gets like then like a double take also when he sees Ilya giving him a little eye contact back. And it also gives me this feeling that Shane, like with this eye contact, that he's being like, oh, did he look at me? Like, can I look at him? Like, what is going on here? What is all these feelings that I'm having now? And then also we get this shot here, this beautiful shot. I love it so freaking much. And no, get your head out of the gutter. Not for that reason, though that is also a quite good reason. But I love it because of how they're standing here and how we're seeing them stand here with equal space between them. Like symbolically, they both need to move. They both need to make a step to get closer to each other. Like physically, emotionally, symbolically. And there also is this symmetry here. Everything is very like symmetrically put up. It gives this like balance and kind of this like question for me of what will happen if we move. Like if we step closer to each other, it's gonna throw everything off balance, like, you know, symbolically everything in our lives. And maybe like for Shane, like his whole worldview and self-identity is like really questioned here with Ilya. So it's kind of this like, yeah, unknown of like, how will it change the world, you know, how will it make a new balance maybe. If they both move one step closer to one another, symbolically the shot would still be symmetrical and there would be this new harmony. But will they be able to risk it? What if the other person doesn't move? There would be asymmetry. Something would be off balance. They have to get the courage to do something, to move closer to one another symbolically and actually physically here in the scene. And we're seeing them check each other out a lot. Shane being a little more obvious with how he's looking at Ilya. Like it's kind of like just this like transfixed energy. He just can't help look over. And also when he's looking over, we also get this unspoken fuck from Shane in this moment here when he takes Ilya in all his glory for the first time. And he's just so transfixed. He like can't look away. And something that it got to remind me of, like kind of Shane's posing. It gave me like some thoughts to this painting, like The Birth of Venus. I think it's a posing, and maybe it also is because they're like in the shower, so there's like water here. It feels like Shane has this similar pose to like this painting. We can see it a bit from like different angles. The left arm is down and the right arm is up. The vibe, the theme, the pose, like this like in the shot. And like when we think about Venus, is also this like symbol of like love and devotion and affection, and also like desire. It's searching for connection, it's searching for harmony, which is kind of interesting with then also how I was talking about the balance in the shot before, and like, oh, if we move, how will it change the balance and change the harmony, right? This is a big moment for Shane, allowing himself to look at another man in this way and having this moment of desire with another man. A moment where he also is reassured that his feeling is reciprocated. Of course, we also had the gym scene, but what is happening here in the shower is so much more explicit and I think cuts so much more deeper. So to me, it's a big step on his journey towards accepting himself as who he is as a gay man, and correlating it with this Birth of Venus painting, the birth of him in a way, towards harmony and love. He emerges quite different from how he entered the water, even if he still tries to push it away. I don't know, I might just totally off the mark here and just babbling about weird nonsense. Let me know that's totally okay. And I also think that Shane, he kind of has this like timid energy to him, but he's like so transfixed by Ilya in this moment that he kind of forgets a little bit to be timid. Like I feel like the pose is a little timid, like covering yourself a little bit. I mean, obviously he's like showering and washing, but it still is like covering a little bit. But he just gets like so caught in the moment. It's like, I don't know, like everything just stops. Everything is moving in slow motion and something, and he's just staring at Ilya like he just cannot look away. I also just love how Ilya is like messing around with the temperature and like doing things like this. Like it just adds this realness to the shot and to the character. Like I talked about, the actors are making so many little choices on how to portray the characters, like scratching and itching and moving and, you know, doing things that just feels very like a real person. And I just love that so much, and also that it's in here in this way. And you see Ilya washing himself off, but to me, I also am seeing how Ilya can feel that Shane is watching him. Like Shane is staring at him for like a good uninterrupted 10 seconds or something. like you're gonna notice. Like as I talked about in the draft scene when Shane looks up at Ilya because he feels him watching, that's kind of like the same here. Like you can't help notice when someone is looking at you. And so obviously Ilya is also feeling Shane's eyes on him as he's like washing and soaping down. Like you can't tell me that Ilya isn't soaping down a little bit extra because he knows that Shane is looking at him. And Ilya is also moving around like in the shower, but he's also looking for sure. Like he's checking out Shane as well, but how he does it is a bit more nonchalant, or it feels a little less obvious in a way, where Shane is just kind of frozen in place staring. Ilya moves around and sort of like moves his eyes around with it, and it's giving like that he's doing it a bit more like intentional. Like these are like very specific glances set on target. And I also think that Ilya is like looking at Shane not only to check him out, but also just see where is he at, what's going on, trying to calculate like what should his next move be, like how should we move this forward. And is Shane up for this idea of like, you know, having a little meetup? And I also will die on this hill, or what do you say, that when Ilya is moving around here, that's when he also is noticing that Shane is, what shall we say, excited. And that's also why he like makes the conscious choice to keep his eyes on Shane. Like he's moving his eyes around and making it less obvious as he's like checking him out and looking at him. But now he keeps his eyes up because he wants Shane to look at his eyes, because he kind of like found a way to like move this forward and like put some flirting in a little bit. So when Shane is again like looking to Ilya and like checking him out transfixed, he gets his eyes up and you can like see the shock and horror of being caught in looking at Ilya and checking Ilya out, and kind of being nervous, I think, of like how is he going to respond, because this is not a way that you're like supposed to be looking at your opponent. And also just like in Shane's head, you're not supposed to look at another man this way. Shane thought he was being so smooth and subtle about it, but as soon as his eyes go up, he's like, oh shit. But Ilya doesn't really let Shane freak out too long before he looks down and makes Shane aware that he noticed Shane's excitement, which it kind of feels like Shane isn't really aware of, that he is having this reaction, this physical reaction to Ilya being here in the shower and looking at him. It feels like he's just so transfixed by Ilya that he didn't really notice, and it isn't until Ilya makes him aware of it that he's like, fuck, like he looks down and it's like, shit. I can imagine that it must be quite embarrassing and uncomfortable to get earned on when you don't plan to and when you can't hide it. And obviously very like instinctually says to Ilya that he should just F off and turns away as well, but also not fully. Like I feel like he turns away, but then also he slowly slides back into place under the shower head. It's not really turning away from this whole situation. And you can see that Ilya is like thinking of what should his move be here, and like watching Shane for like, how is he reacting to this whole thing? Like, is it an F off, I'm not interested? Or is it an F off, I'm kind of embarrassed that I had this reaction to you here? And Ilya comes to the conclusion that it is the latter. And he wants to show Shane that he's not the only one that's interested. He's not the only one that's turned on. And there isn't anything to be embarrassed about. So he starts to, what shall we say, shooting his shot by gesturing to his nether regions. A very bold freak move here. Oh my god. Because he doesn't fully know that Shane is like interested in him. Like he's pretty sure. And I mean, we all know that he is, but it's very bold. I also feel like I should say, like, don't try this at home. Like, this is obviously fiction where there is this like expectation that the characters are into each other and they want this thing to happen. But in real life, we need like actual enthusiastic consent, like all the way through, even in the shower. But this is fiction and quite an awesome scene, so we can forgive Ilya's approach to shooting his shot here. And as Ilya is like gesturing, the music, the score also changes up. And we haven't really talked about the score, but it also is so beautiful and so beautifully encapsulates the mood, the vibe, the energy that we are supposed to feel in that I guess we also are feeling in the moment. And it has been kind of like this questioning, unsure energy, but now it switches up with Ilya's move here to be this more high stakes energy to it, high stakes beat. I don't know what the terminology is, but there comes a big like intensity to it here, still with like some questioning melody vibe to it as well, because obviously we still have Shane here questioning everything, and Shane is so utterly shocked at this move when he turns around. It kind of looks to me like Shane is about to say something when he turned around, but then when he sees what Ilya is doing, it turns into this thought of like, what are you doing? But when Shane looks up at Ilya's eyes, he immediately knows what Ilya is doing. And when we flip around to see Ilya's face, it honestly to me is like responding to Shane's unspoken "what are you doing?" with "you know exactly what." But Ilya still takes a beat before he goes like full on hard mode. He's standing in a way that's like facing the wall of the shower, and it gives this like less aggressive feeling, at least to me. And it kind of like you could still drop it and just be like, oh, I'm just washing off whatever. It's nothing, like you didn't see anything. And we just forget about this whole thing. But as Ilya is seeing Shane's reaction to him, to what he's doing, he turns around, he faces Shane, and it immediately becomes more aggressive and like pointed. I don't know if that's a weird way to say it, but just very like, you know, we're now face to face, eye contact while I'm doing this lower region gesturing. This can't be like explained away or anything. If anyone walks in, this is like, it's very like, this is the very bold, risky move that Ilya is doing here. But Ilya was waiting to see Shane's reaction to this move and how he's responding to it. And as he sort of gets this go-ahead energy from Shane, that's when he turns. And as I said, gives more an aggressive energy. And Ilya is looking at Shane with this very smoldering, seductive, commanding look, and it's giving like, I'm gonna eat you up. Shane isn't looking away, but also he's not doing anything. He's not acting on it. He's not joining in or getting closer. And that's when we are changing the shot again. Like, we've been going back and forth and having over the shoulder shots between Shane and Ilya, but now we're going on a bit of like a wider over the shoulder shot on Ilya here, and he's nodding at Shane like this silent command of like, now you join in. Like, Ilya doesn't want to do this thing alone. Like, he wants to do this thing with Shane and have it be like a shared experience, or what you say. He's not doing this to like intimidate or showing off for voyeuristic purposes. He wants to experience with Shane. And there still is this smolder energy to Ilya's face in this wider shot. But to me, it also gives like incredible vulnerability. Maybe it's because it's like this wider shot and he is like nude, so he is like physically very exposed here, and in that sense vulnerable. But I also think it's because this shot really holds a lot on Ilya without Shane doing anything, without Shane responding or reacting in any way, really. And so it just gives this feeling that Ilya is waiting. Ilya is standing here doing a thing that he doesn't want anyone to find out about or know about him, that he is into this and doing this. Like, he has so much at stake with being a queer person and acting on his queerness. When you think about Russia, this incredibly conservative country, and where you don't even know what they will do if anyone in Russia would find out. There also is like generally just a career or general physical harm if someone were to come in, or if Shane were to do something. This is a very exposed and vulnerable position that Ilya has put himself into. Also just emotionally, like, Ilya is also putting himself out there in that way. And I think even though Ilya and Shane haven't really had a lot of interactions, they haven't really gone very far in their blossoming relationship here, but I think that there obviously is this spark between them. And I do think that Ilya already has a lot of like affection towards Shane, like infatuation, and I think it would hurt him a lot if he were to be rejected. So to me, that's why the shot gives so much vulnerability and not this like purely sexualness that Ilya kind of wants to portray out, which is another type of mask that he has, and in a lot of ways thinks is all he's good for, to be sexy and desired. He doesn't allow himself anyone to really get closer than that. Except maybe Svetlana, but I also think to an extent he keeps her locked out as well. I think it's more that she's good at reading him. When I was watching this the first time, I was kind of wondering why they didn't show anything lower. It's cut off more at the upper hip here in this shot, which is maybe, my brain is maybe too much in the gutter. But I feel like that's just so common these days. Like when you have these like more intimate shots, moments on TV and movies, like it goes like as low as it can without like showing, you know, the actual bits, whatever. And not that this show doesn't like show a lot, like obviously it shows a lot, but it also isn't about that here. Like in this moment, like we aren't supposed to be looking down at the goods, we're supposed to be looking up, we're supposed to be looking at the faces, at the expressions, at the micro expressions, and like actually notice and see like how are the characters doing, because these moments are incredibly important for the character arcs, for the story arcs, for the romance relationship arc of it all. This isn't just like steaminess for steam's sake. And this point we're also talking a little bit more when we get further on and into more explicit scenes. So here Ilya is standing vulnerable and all, and you can see Shane contemplating. Like he really wants this thing, he really wants to do it, and probably can't even believe how much he wants to. But he has a lot of internal struggles with this. If he should really do it, the risk of it all, I think, as well. And so the risk wins out the danger of being in a public place and doing something like this. So he tells Ilya, not here, which very importantly is not a no, I don't want to. It kind of invites to, let's do this another place. And as he's saying this, not here, the music, the score also is giving a little bit of danger to it. Like we have crossed at the point of no return in a way. We have acknowledged that this is something that we are into, like verbally acknowledged it. And Ilya is like totally fine with that. He stops right away, but you can also just see the relief and excitement that he has at Shane saying this. To me, Ilya kind of drops this sex god mask and some of his true self is peeking through. He literally breathes a sigh of relief. This is kind of like what he has been building up to for a long time, and probably also building up in his head for a long time. Like this is like 6 months since they last saw each other, and that was just a brief like game and handshake. No innuendo there. I also think that a part of why Shane says not here is because he sees Ilya as more than just the sex god, and he wants more than just a quick moment. Or am I being too mushy now? So we're getting out of the shower and into the post-shower scene here. And Shane is waiting here in the locker room because Ilya took his sweet time to get out of the shower. And I saw people talk about this in the sense that Ilya also gave space in case Shane wanted to leave. If he didn't want to do this, if this not here, in parentheses, let's do it someplace else, wasn't really what he actually wanted. Potentially also to not get into a face-to-face rejection if that was the case. And also Shane sitting here fully dressed, like he's been here for some time because he actually wants to talk with Ilya, even if it is to kind of like call the whole thing off. And as Ilya is coming around the corner, you also can see how he's like playing with the hair on the back of his neck and giving this like soothing feeling to himself. Like we see this a lot throughout the show, how he's like playing with his hair or like rubbing his hands or something like this to soothe himself. And this has been, like, as we talked about, a very vulnerable moment, exposing moment for Ilya here. And he wants to give Shane the space and time to like leave if that's what he wants, but he kind of obviously is hoping that he's not. So that's why he needs like a little self-soothing, I think. But as he enters and sees Shane, he quickly stops and puts on this mask and persona of being the cool guy. The framing that we have here in the locker room scene is also really cool to me, with how the lockers are like going down almost as like this like tunnel vision, first towards Shane and this Ilya shaped empty space in front of him, and then towards Ilya. And we're having the main lockers here like in the space we're in to be one side red and the other side is white, and it gives me this feeling like similar to like, you know, different teams going up against each other, like two opponents facing off. And very interestingly, we see Shane and Ilya on the same side of the lockers, almost symbolically, as even though they're playing on the opposite teams in real life, they're kind of on the same team here.
privately.
But also it's reminding me a little bit of like chess, like how you have the black and the white like standing up, like all the pieces standing up before the start of the match, and they're all facing off against each other. And chess is like obviously like a very mind game, like you've got to be very thinky, very calculated. And I think that there also is some calculation needed for this conversation here, for this moment here, to navigate making this thing happen without like actually saying things out loud.
When Ilya entered,
you can see Shane sitting here like very nervously, and he has like one shoe next to him, even though he probably has been sitting here for some time. Maybe he just got caught in like an overthinking thought or something, but it also feels a little bit calculated of how he wanted to present himself as casual and cool when Ilya came in, and not like he's been sitting here waiting. So he wanted to like, grab his shoe as if he was just putting both his shoes on and getting ready to leave. But he is so nervous that he like drops the shoe and everything, which is such a cute little touch, I think. Like it kind of gives like opposite of like everything is cool and calm and I don't feel anything. Shane says that he just wants to forget this whole thing. I think because he's like a bit unsure about this whole thing, like what his own feelings are, what Ilya's feelings are, his like desires, and again like some identity struggles, the type of person that he thinks he's supposed to be. He's probably been overthinking everything in the time that it's taken Ilya to get out of the shower, and he's just, come to the conclusion that we should just forget about this whole thing. Ilya asks if that is really what Shane wants, and Shane responds for sure, which is his tell. He does not mean for sure. This is like the opposite of for sure. And Ilya is kind of laughing. He knows that Shane is bullshitting, that he isn't telling the truth, and he jokingly is calling him on it, calling him a bad liar, which Shane doesn't really respond to, probably because he doesn't really know how to respond to that. And Ilya just watches him, like observes him.
And to me, Ilya kind of looks at Shane like, come on, it was a joke. Also with how we're like seeing his hand gesture behind Shane's head, it gives this what's up dude energy to me.
But I'm also wondering if maybe it's because Ilya is used to a different type of like banters with his partners. Like what we can gather like a bit later on when we see him interacting with Svetlana and Sasha.
There's more banter, chirping, and playing around.
So I think if we're drawing it back to chess, that he's calculating like what line of attack is like the best one. And I guess that he figures that it's probably better just to be very direct with Shane.
Or as direct as he can be without giving too much away. Because, we're still not risking being vulnerable.
So Ilya walks up to Shane and it kind of feels a bit imposing, to be honest. He's like towering over Shane and like crowding him a bit. And also it brings Shane's like head kind of eye level with his crotch, which has a towel hanging extremely low, which I think is done extremely intentional. And you can almost like hear Shane gulping at the sight of this. And again, they're not really like saying anything directly. A lot of things is like happening between the lines, and Ilya is just, casually just asking Shane what room number is he in. Also, a little side note, micro move, what do you call it here? Look how Ilya's head follows Shane as he sits up after Ilya asks for his room number. Ilya is so in anticipation, so on the edge of his seat observing Shane. Like, oh my god, this is so freaking cute, and I just had to share with you guys, so look how cute. But also how Ilya is like asking this question, it also is almost this soft command, like how we saw in the gym hotel of Ilya like testing out some of these like little command power exchange things, and how Shane is like responding to it, and Shane responds very positively to this. We've seen how enthusiastically, if maybe a little apprehensive, that Shane responds to and follows these orders. He enjoys being told what to do and having these direct questions that should be answered. Shane isn't shying away from this question. He answers quite promptly, which I think he answers both because he in general wants to meet up with Ilya, but also the comfort in subconsciously stepping into this dynamic and this role that he has developed in relation to Ilya. Like, it just feels nice. And so responding to Ilya and answering Ilya just becomes a natural reflex. And he knows what is going to happen when he gives this response. Ilya is trying to be a bit casual, I feel like, just like, oh, this is nothing. It's not like I've been waiting 6 months for this or anything. And it's just, oh, what would happen if I came to your door at 9 o'clock tonight? Shane responds, I might open. And Ilya says, I might knock, which to me is coming across a bit aggressive. When I watched it the first time, actually probably the first few times, I was like, whoa, that's a little aggressive, dude. Like, I might knock. Like, he's almost doing this, like, body flip, chest, like, push out, or what you call it. But I feel like it also is just this thing of, like, you know, calling Shane out on how he, in the beginning of the conversation, was like, oh, let's just forget about it. But he definitely does not want to forget about it. And I feel like Ilya saying I might knock is kind of him saying like, yeah, I might knock the same degree that you might open, which is like definitely, like, it's definitely gonna be open and it's definitely gonna be knocked on. And with that, Ilya is going back to his locker.
You can see Shane kind of realize what just happened and how he thought, because he had convinced himself, that he didn't want to meet up. But now he's realizing how much he actually wanted and how quickly he folded to Ilya's vibrance.
And you see, like, Shane's eyes follow Ilya, but then also quickly look away, like, no, I shouldn't look at him. Already freaking out a little bit. And this freaked outness we also get into when we move into the next scene and the little montage type song that we're having for how mostly Shane, but also little Ilya, getting ready to their little rendezvous. But we are gonna get way more into that in the next video. Here we're ending on this very slowly escalated thing that there is between Shane and Ilya, which have been building up over their past many interactions. Like, it's been like a year or something in the build up at this point. We had the first little initial interactions, and then very importantly, we had the gym chat, the gym race, and then the gym chat. Testing out, like, looking at the other person. Is the other person looking? How are they looking? Is it okay to be looking? And Ilya, because he, like, here in the beginning is more like the active one, is testing out Shane's response to him. We had after the second prospect cup and Shane's excited little chirp, knowing that they will be seeing each other again. But, like, what will that mean? To Ilya pushing on the circumstances of when and how they will meet. Like, pursuing Shane is not just going to be some random game. It will be a place where we can be alone together. And being here at the little commercial, doing the flirty flirt. Again, Ilya, like, pursuing Shane and trying to make him aware that he is pursuing him. To the shower now, where we're making very obvious that we are looking and we are interested. Like, we can't help to look at each other. We can't help to escalate. And finally here to the post-shower scene where Shane kind of tries to push it away, but doesn't take much convincing to rethink his plans. Like, oh my god, a year plus in the making. I just love this slow burn, or what you call it. I don't know if you can really call it a slow burn. I guess you can. We don't have so many, like, interactions, or, like, the interaction is so far spaced out. And just imagining, like, this yearning that's been built up in all of this time. Like, when you think about it, packing all of this, like, slow burn into, like, 10 minutes or however long we're into the episode now, like, it's such a short amount of time where we're getting so many of these slow build up moments. I mean, it moves quite fast and jumps ahead in time and all of this all the time, of course. And also I feel like that's maybe why when I was first watching it, I didn't fully get this slow burn of it. But obviously it makes sense, like, when you actually think about the time frame that we have here, how much of the slow burn that the start of the relationship is. And also throughout, obviously, there's so much slow burns, so much yearning, a lot of pent-up feelings that we have been gathering until this point. So I'm sure it also is going to be a big explosion when we finally get to exploring it. But that exploration, like I said, will happen next time. I am so hyped for that, and I'm so hyped for this video. I really have been looking forward to talking about all of these little moments and how these, like, the different framings of the wider shot with Ilya, the wider shot with Shane and Ilya, and the space between them. So please share your thoughts below. I would so love to hear what you're thinking about it. What are you, like, getting? What symbols or weird picture associations are you you getting from it? Do you see like the vulnerability that Ilya is having towards Shane here, wanting him to join in? Do you feel like Shane is coming more to terms with himself? I would love to hear what you're seeing and what you're thinking about it, and continue dissecting everything down below. Also, it seems like that I lied a few videos ago, not intentionally. It wasn't intentional, I promise. But it seems that was a little lie when I was saying that we were like 900 something away from getting chapters in the video. But in my defense, Google was saying that we needed like 1,000 subs until that would happen. But I guess we didn't. So yay! I hope that you are enjoying the chapters, enjoying to skip around or pause. Know when to pause if you have like an important meeting or something you need to get to. But still, you know, please sub, join in on the fun yappity journey, breaking down all the little steps for Shane and Ilya's beautiful roller coaster ride of a love story. Thank you so much for hanging out today and listening to me gush about the show. Oh, it's so good. Have you watched it yet? How many times have you watched it? Can you even count it anymore? I feel like I can't count it anymore. Let me know down below. This show is just so amazing, and like all the amazing positive vibes it's given to people as well. Like not only like the joy from the actual story and the characters, but also just for how much it's opened up for people, like starting new hobbies, starting new life paths. You know, specifically for me, like starting this yappity ass YouTube channel that I have been thinking about doing for years plus, finally doing it now, sharing my thoughts with all of you guys, not just having to repeat it in my head all the time. I'm just so happy and excited that you want to be here, and kind of like, I don't know, it just makes me so happy to see your thoughts down below, to hear you're enjoying what I'm saying about it and that you're getting something out of it. Like new thoughts is so great, like expanding your thoughts on something. That's just, I just love that, and I am getting that from you guys too. So just thank you, and just know that you are awesome and amazing. And until next time, remember that being you is always in season. Seasons of sorrow, seasons of sorrow.